Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation's 15th, Volunteer Leadership Conference. I'm so delighted to be here with all of you. And for those of you who I've not had the opportunity to get to know, I've been in this fight for over 3 decades. And I can tell you that I have never been more excited nor more hopeful about our community's progress. We are so thankful to have this special opportunity to connect with you, our most dedicated and special friends and supporters. I'd like to extend a warm welcome now to many friends who are joining us online, especially those of you with cystic fibrosis. You are our inspiration, and you're the reason that we're here today. I'd also like to welcome my fellow Board of Trustees members, people that many of you know, Mike Beatty and Sue Hook. May I ask you to stand? Thank you for being here. We have an exciting few days ahead of us. The theme of this year's conference is Teammates, Together Until It's Done. One of the things that makes our community so strong is that we all share this same dream, a cure for all people with CF. We are united in our commitment and focus, but we each bring our own unique talents and experiences and ideas to this cause. This is what makes us so successful. I'd like to share a short video of just a few of the many ways that our amazing volunteers come together across the country all year long to bring us closer to our dream.
Nobody told us this would be easy. Nothing worth fighting for ever is. And we aren't stopping because we know people with cystic fibrosis are fighting hard. Fighting for the chance to wake up and take a full breath. For the chance to go to college, to get a job, and to have a family of their own. Because we've made progress, scientific progress many people wouldn't believe. Each step we take, each stair we climb, and bike we pedal bring us closer. Each call we make and clinical trial we explore bring us closer. But we're not satisfied. We won't be satisfied until there is a cure. Together, each of us can help advance our mission. Until we reach the day all our loved ones can say, I used to have CF. We are together until it's done.
What a fantastic team. And that was just a small fraction of our volunteer community. Each of you energizes our mission. You climb, you dance, you're great strides leaders. You share your story on Capitol Hill. You partner with care teams and you support one another. You inspire and mobilize others to support our mission. Every day, working together, you make our team stronger and you give us hope. I'm looking forward to spending time with you over the next few days. The ideas that we share and explore here at VLC will carry us even further and faster forward toward our goal. In the foyer outside the ballroom, you'll find a chapter shout-out box. I encourage you to think about all that we have done over the last year, individually and together. We want to hear about your successes and celebrate your chapter accomplishments with you. During the breaks today, take a moment to write down your favorite event or something new that you've done that you're really proud of. We'll share as many as we can tomorrow morning. It's now my pleasure to introduce two of the remarkable teammates that certainly need no introduction, who are powering our mission forward. Please welcome our 2017 VLC co-chairs, our dynamic duo, Ginger Birnbaum and Mike Beatty.
Thank you, Cam, and welcome everyone to VLC. I'm Mike Beatty. This is Ginger Birnbaum. We are honored and privileged to have been last year's co-chairs. I think I've been on script long enough, don't you, Ginger? Paul and Bonnee, you will get this gavel when you pry it from our cold, dead hands. Everyone in this room has a unique story and connection to this disease. It's part of what makes this event so fascinating. You've got to take an opportunity. I'm already trying to do it. I've met a lovely couple from Louisiana. Their granddaughter is in Dallas. We're talking about her health and where they're going and what they expect and all the new developments. Take an opportunity. This is your chance to visit with everyone. And as I said, every single person has a unique story. Go outside, take a look at the Why We Fight board. Look at some of those pictures, and you cannot help but be inspired by recognizing the obligation that we have to continue until it's done. And while everyone has a unique story, we all share one common goal, and that is we are going to find a cure. We will be discussing and celebrating lots of new breakthroughs as we meet today and tomorrow, but I want you always to remember the long road that we've been on and the people and achievements that have come before, those who have lost in this battle and are also continuing the fight until it's done. VLC, to me, does not stand for Volunteer Leadership Conference. VLC means to me valuable life-saving contributions. And there have been millions of them, and I want you to understand that they are so significant. I can say to you today, and I mean it from the bottom of our heart, and I want you to know that Kathleen and I are both here, and we will be saying it to each of you. Our daughter, Piper, would not be alive today if it were not for the many valuable, life-saving contributions that came from VLC. So thank you very much. Ginger and I are humbled to join the team of past conference co-chairs, and I actually want to call out each of them by name. I want you to recognize that each of the prior co-chairs have a button which says Host Committee. We are wearing green boutonnieres. We are here because we are supposedly here to answer questions, but we will be talking to each of you as much as possible. So if you are here, I would love for you to stand up so that you can be recognized. Marguerite and Mark Casalina, Pam and Lou Mertz, Kelly and Perry Clark, Angie Kinney and Katrina Young, Laura Gordon and Kim Ruskowski. We will all be here answering your questions and listening to your stories and sharing this weekend with you. Thank you so much for the privilege of being a part. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. It's really nice to be here with y'all again this year. This is the most incredible time for us to all be together, both physically in this room and virtually. It's so nice to have so many people tuning in. Thank you. It's now my absolute pleasure to introduce our 2018 Volunteer Leadership Conference co-chairs, Bonnee Binker of Miami, Florida, and Paul Motenko of Mission Viejo, California, and currently serves as its chair. She began volunteering for the CF Foundation when her granddaughter, Delaney, was diagnosed with the disease 7 years ago. Since then, she has chaired and co-chaired numerous events, including the Great Strides Miami Walk, Miami's Big City Affair, and Miami's Night for a Cure, and has participated in numerous CF Cycle for Life and CF Climb events. Bonnee is a staunch CF advocate and has attended the Foundation's Florida State Advocacy Day as well as March on the Hill. Paul is currently the chair of the Southern California Chapter Orange County Board and the Volunteer Leadership Council's Individual Giving Committee. He has been involved with the Foundation since his daughter Stacy was diagnosed with CF 31 years ago. Paul serves as co-chairman of the chapter's largest fundraising event, Pipeline to a Cure. An avid hiker, Paul has participated in numerous extreme hike events throughout the country. He is also a strong advocate and attends both March on the Hill and the California State Advocacy Day each year. As one of the founders of BJ's Restaurants, Paul spearheaded the Cookies for Kids initiative, which has raised millions of dollars for CF. Please join me in welcoming these two incredible people as your new co-chairs for VLC.
Can you hear me? Hello. What a crowd. I wish I could see anyone. It's all dark down there. But thank you so much, Mike and Ginger. They are incredible. And when they told us last year that we were going to be the VLC chairs this year, my first response was, I really wanted Mike and Ginger to do it again. They did such an incredible job. You guys are great. Tough act to follow. We will try our best. You know, this really isn't a conference. We call it VLC, and I really like the valuable life-saving contributions, but it really isn't a conference. It's a family. It's a family reunion. And so I like to suggest, at least for the next 2 days, to rename it CFFR, CF Family Reunion, because that's what it is. You know, I absolutely hate that my daughter Stacy has cystic fibrosis. But I absolutely love that I'm part of the CF family. And I love that it's the 15th year for this conference, and I've attended it all 15 times. I wouldn't miss this because there's so many reasons why it's special to me. I get to hear the latest medical updates and to learn about fundraising best practices from other chapters. I get to hang out with medical researchers and question them one-on-one until they find an excuse to escape. But most of all, I get to catch up with great friends who I get to see from across the country once a year. It's a place to feel the love that we have for each other and for those with CF, even those that we have never even met, but who we pray for and we work so hard to help. We're all teammates and we're all in this together, but at the same time, there are so many different reasons why we're all here or on the live stream. There are, in my opinion, the truest heroes in this fight against cystic fibrosis, those who have no direct connection to this disease, but who are still so passionate about finding a cure for those who do. We'll be honoring one of those amazing people later in the conference with the Jenna Award. But everyone who supports the CF Foundation purely out of the goodness of their hearts deserves to know how much they are appreciated, and I think we should do that right now. On the other end of the spectrum are those who have been most impacted by CF, as they have lost a child or other loved one to this disease. Despite losing their own personal battle, these people are determined to change the nature of CF so others won't have to experience the pain that they have experienced and continue to experience. You truly honor the memory of your loved ones, and we are so grateful for your continued support. The rest of us are in this because we or someone we love lives every day with the burden of this disease. In my case, as you know, I got involved because of my daughter, Stacy. I'll never forget the feelings of despair when Stacy was diagnosed virtually at birth, and the doctors told my wife and me to love her, cherish her, but don't expect your little baby girl to live to be an adult. We felt helpless and all alone. Our response was to get involved with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And even though there was virtually no hope at that time that a cure would be found in Stacy's lifetime, just being involved in the effort to cure this disease gave us great comfort. I didn't truly understand why until a few years later when I attended a Great Strides kickoff event. At the event, a young couple who had a newly diagnosed son spoke. They spoke about how they weren't sure if they were ready to participate in Great Strides because they were still reeling from the diagnosis. After much debate, they decided to do it, and they actually raised over $6,000. After the event, I went up to congratulate and thank them, and I asked the wife, what was it that made you decide to do Great Strides? And she told me, I don't know how my son's going to do. I don't know if he'll live only a few years or he'll live for many years. But that's something I can't predict or control. But whatever happens, I want to be able to look my son in the eyes and tell him that I did absolutely everything I could to give him a better life. And that made it very clear what we had to do. That mother so eloquently described what it's like for us who have a loved one with this disease, whether that loved one's a child, a grandchild, a spouse, or some other relationship. You know, today there's so much hope for people living with cystic fibrosis, so many medical advances, and I know we're going to hear about some incredible new advances at the medical update later today. But to be very honest, the medical updates the past few years have been bittersweet for me. Every year I see that pie chart with the percentage of people that are being impacted by these incredible new medications that are really literally changing their lives. And every year that slice of the pie that represents those who don't have anything on the horizon yet gets smaller and smaller. And every year Stacy is in that ever-shrinking slice. But I know there's other people here as well that are in that same situation, and I don't know if you can turn up the lights, but I'd like all of us who are in that 5 to 7% last slice to please stand up for a minute. I think I can speak for all of us in saying we are so happy about the medications that are helping so many people with CF. These are people we have grown to love so much. But we are even more grateful to all of you, to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, for committing to being in this until there's a cure for everyone with cystic fibrosis. That's because we're all teammates. We may have different priorities and circumstances, but we're all in this together. We're here for each other, we're here for the people with CF, and we're here until it's done. In the meantime, while I'm certainly very concerned and scared that my daughter doesn't have a medication in the pipeline to help her, I'm so grateful for the many joyous experiences that she's been able to have, ones that we never thought possible. We didn't think that Stacy would graduate from high school, go to college, have a career, and certainly we never expected her to find love and get married. But Stacy did graduate from high school. She graduated from college after having a little too much fun at UC Santa Barbara. She started a great career, and on June 25th, 2016, Stacy married the love of her life. Of all the special moments that evening, the most special to me was the father-daughter dance. As Stacy, and you can see why. As Stacy and I danced, holding each other tightly with tears of joy in our eyes, I thought of all the people whose support for CF research helped to make this incredibly joyous experience for our family possible, and how I would like the opportunity to thank each and every one of them individually. Well, this is about as close as I'm going to get to that opportunity, so thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. When the wedding was over and I said goodnight to Stacy and her new husband, I was exhausted, but I was exhilarated, knowing that not only was the event one of the highlights of my life, but in some respect it reflected a triumph over cystic fibrosis. That despite this terrible disease, my daughter did marry the love of her life. Take that, CF.
That's right.
But while I look forward to collapsing in bed and dreaming about the magnificent evening we had just had, it occurred to me that Stacy would go back to her room, her new husband would carry her over the threshold, and then she would spend the next hour on her wedding night taking her breathing treatments and doing her airway clearance. For one very special evening, we had won the battle, but we have not yet won the war. Thank you so much. I now have the great opportunity to introduce my partner in crime, my new great friend, Friends for Life. And I couldn't be happy to be partnering with Bonnee, and we're going to have a great time together.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Well, welcome to Washington, D.C. for all of you who are in the room and for those of you who are joining us via live stream. I am so excited that this weekend has finally arrived. I have been counting down the months, then the weeks, then the days, then the hours until we would all be here together, and we're here. Like Paul said, this is the one place where we don't have to explain anything. Together, we're going to laugh and we're going to cry. We're going to catch up with old friends, and we're going to look forward to making new ones. We're going to spend time looking back at the year that was, and we're going to look forward to all that's going to be. But most importantly, we're going to go home with a renewed confirmation that what we do makes a difference to our loved ones. We are not only adding quantity of life, but quality of life for them. And for the next 2 days, I don't have to ask anyone to join my Great Strides team, and I don't have to ask anyone for a donation. So it's kind of like a vacation. So much has happened since we were all together in Dallas. Let's start with the amazing news that just a couple weeks ago, the FDA approved Symdeko. Yeah. And how about the excitement as we move forward with phase 3 trial of the drugs that will help people, hopefully, like my granddaughter Delaney, that only has one copy of F508 delta mutation. In the past year, we organized an army of advocates that made thousands of phone calls, wrote thousands of emails, knocked on hundreds of doors to our elected officials, and we made sure that our loved ones and everyone else who needed it ensure that they got the medical insurance that not only they need, but they deserve. We had over 100,000 walkers participate in over 400 Great Strides, which raised over $38 million. And that was supported by over 400 passion events, just like Miami's Kick CF kickball tournament, that just took place 2 weeks ago and raised over $55,000. And the Compass Department, we have to talk about them. They took over 12,500 calls, which is an 11% increase over 2016. Those calls included 450 families who needed help navigating the insurance open enrollment period. And a personal one for me, 25 families who needed shelter and assistance before and after Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and Maria, when they ripped through Texas, my home state of Florida, and Puerto Rico. One of the calls that they received was from a CF mom in Florida. Hurricane Irma had just taken an unexpected turn, and Sarah and her family had to evacuate immediately. They could not wait for their delivery of Oricombi that was expected to arrive the next day. Mom called the Compass Department, and arrangements were made for a delivery to be rerouted, and the Oricombi arrived to their Alabama hotel room. Every day, everything we do, again, is not only adding quantity, but quality of life. So thank you. That's all on the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and all of you in this room that support the mission. And also this year, Paul and I have had the honor of assisting Maureen Frazier, Molly Riley, Julia Payo, and the rest of the amazing team at the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation to bring this conference together. Yep. I am especially proud that thanks to advances in technology, for those of you who are joining us via live stream from your home and other locations, we have advances that are going to make you feel like you're right here with us. And I'll talk about that more in a few minutes. I am so honored to be the first grandparent who was asked to co-chair VLC. Yep. Thank you. My 7-year-old granddaughter Delaney was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis when she was just 15 days old. On day 16, I contacted the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself because that's not where my story begins. My story begins at 7:26 a.m. on October 22nd, 1984. That's when Brian Abraham Binker was born. As I held my baby boy, I looked in his eyes, and I promised him that I was always going to love and protect him. I would always be there to kiss his boo-boos, mend his broken heart, and right every wrong. So when he got hit in the face with a baseball, I kissed it and helped the boo-boo go away. And when his first true love turned out not to be true love, we sat up all night eating cookies and ice cream to mend his broken heart. But when he got the phone call that Delaney had been diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, and he was in agony and needed me more than he ever needed me, I couldn't right this wrong. All I could do was create new promises. I told him that his job was to take care of Delaney, and my job was to go out and find the cure. You see, as a grandparent, you not only have a grandchild who has a chronic disease, You also have a child who's experiencing the worst imaginable pain. It's a pain that I know so many of you experience every day. So that takes me back to where I started. "15 years before Delaney was born, Bonnee had received a letter from the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation asking him for support. As a business owner, he gets donation requests every day. And as much as you want to, we all know that you can't help everyone. You have to pick and choose. Bonnee didn't know anybody with cystic fibrosis, and he really knew nothing about it. But he read the story of 65 Roses, and it touched his heart. We were blessed with 2 healthy children. How could he not help other parents have their children live a full lifetime? So in that box were all the bears and blankets and calendars and pins and keychains and so much more that over the years the foundation had sent him. And the funny thing is, he had absolutely no idea why he had kept all those things in a box in the corner of his office. So a few days later, I met with Chris Lanchute, our executive director of the South Florida chapter, and I told her that I would do anything to make sure that Delaney lived long enough to be a nanny to her own grandchildren. Little did I know what that meant. I have more than once rode 65 miles on my bike. One of those times getting lost in the middle of Orlando, so I'm not sure how many miles that added. Paul, where are you? Okay, Paul Glorson had to find me and get me back to where I needed to be. I spent my birthday climbing the equivalent of a 50-story building in the hot August South Florida heat. While playing kickball, I've been yelled at by NFL star Santana Moss because I closed my eye as the ball was coming towards me while I was supposed to be defending third base on his team. I have, along with Chris Lanchute, stalked Pitbull in a hotel lobby bar, and I very unsuccessfully tried to get a donation from Billy Joel when I was introduced to him at a South Beach event. I have met with hundreds of people, one at a time. Thank you. I have met with hundreds of people one at a time, and I have spoken to hundreds of people all at one time. I have stood up at numerous events asking for money in a bid for the cure. I have gotten to the beach at 4 a.m. to get tents up for a walk. I have made thousands of pancakes for our striders, paddlers, and kickball players. And I have begged senators and members of Congress to do the right thing when they have to vote on bills that will affect our loved ones' health. But I know, just like me, all of you are doing these things, and we are in it until it's done. We are one team with one dream. So, let's put this team to work right now. Everybody, do you see on your tables, you have little strips of paper. These are little bracelets that we're all going to share. I would like each of you to take one of them and write down the what or the who is your inspiration for joining us in this fight to cure cystic fibrosis. Once you have done this, we want you to pass your bracelet 3 times. That way somebody ends up with someone else's bracelet. Put it on and wear it throughout the conference to remind us that we are all teammates in this together until it's done. Paul, will you join me?
You bet.
Oh my God, they don't work. I think we may have to scratch these pens to get them started. There we go. Okay, Paul, would you have the honor of wearing Delaney's bracelet?
Yes, of course.
Switching.
Stacy's.
Absolutely. Oops. So pass them, so I just... Are we... Sorry? Okay. This past year, we have launched a new program, Tomorrow's Leaders. It's designed for young professionals who want to volunteer and help us to advance our mission, and also want to develop professional networking and be part of something special. Grandparents, where are all my grandparents? Guys, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Grandparents? All right. So since this past year we have introduced our Tomorrow's Leaders, I'm really excited to share with all the grandparents that this is our year. Keep watching for information about our new program, which is designed to organize an unstoppable group of amazing people, grandparents. So, and now to the whole room. Don't forget to visit the program tables outside the ballroom during the breaks and pick up additional information about all of our amazing Cystic Fibrosis Foundation programs. I encourage all of you to take advantage of this great conference, the networking opportunities and all that it presents. You'll notice that the first ribbon on your badge reads Teammate. Whether you are staff, volunteer, a family member, or someone with CF, or a corporate champion, a Great Strides team leader, a major gift donor, you are all teammates. If you look at the ribbon with your name badge, you'll notice that the word MATE is capitalized because it stands for Making Adding Tomorrows Easier. And that's exactly what we all strive to do. Every year we add new teammates to our family. All of our first-time attendees have a button that says First-Time Attendees. I want to encourage everyone to meet them and make new connections with them throughout the conference. Could I please ask for all of our first-time VLC's attendees to stand up? And let's welcome them with a great big round of applause. You are now family. In addition, don't forget to spread awareness and connect with others during this conference through social media. Remember, hashtag CFFVLC. That's one word. It will be at the bottom of every slide throughout the day. If you'd like to connect on the Wi-Fi, the information is on the slide and it's on the tent cards on your table. If you're tuning in on live stream, Please be sure to follow along on social media, including watching our Instagram stories, which will be taking place between our sessions. It is now my pleasure to introduce our inspirational leader of our team, Dr. Preston Campbell, President and CEO. Preston has been a champion in our fight to cure cystic fibrosis for more than 30 years. His wonderful ability to see the unique individual in every person with CF and his appreciation for the unique talents of everyone on the team has helped us all to focus our efforts on finding new ways to make a difference for every person living with CF in their day-to-day lives, now and throughout their lifetime. Preston, on behalf of all of us here and watching online, we are proud to follow your lead as we all work to fulfill the Foundation's mission.
Wow. Thank you, Bonnee. Thank you, Paul. You guys are amazing. I'm thrilled that you're both our VLC co-chairs this year. Didn't they do a great job? Give them a hand. We are in such good hands for this conference, and you all are such an amazing group of people. I'm honored to be here. I'm just inspired already. We could almost call it a day and we'd be ahead, right? But it's wonderful seeing everybody here in Washington, and welcome to all of you who are joining us online. We are having and are going to have an absolutely fabulous conference, and we're so glad that you can join us. I want to thank you for not only being part of VLC, but for all that you do throughout the year to make a difference in the lives of people with CF and their families. And there's going to be a theme that runs through what I have to say, and I'm the warm-up act, if you will, for the medical team that's going to come up in a minute. But we, the CF community, are on an amazing journey. Our journey began 60-plus years ago. And at a time when there was nothing but a dream. That dream was that someday people with CF would be able, hopefully, to be able to live long, full, healthy lives. But I'll repeat the fact that there was nothing at that time. There weren't any CF medicines, there weren't any CF doctors, there weren't any CF care centers, there wasn't any CF science at all. And worst of all, there wasn't any worst of all, there wasn't any hope. Today, their dream, now our dream, is beginning to come true. And we can see a day when all people with CF will live long, full, healthy lives. The CF story is the most amazing story in medicine today, bar none, and hope abounds. And you're going to hear a lot of exciting updates throughout this conference. And you're going to hear so many wonderful things. It's really tempting to say, wow, maybe our journey is almost over. It's a reasonable thought. And we're at this wonderful point in our journey where there's been so much success that we have to celebrate that success, as all good teams do. And you all are the best team in the world. And we will celebrate. But we also must remember that there's a lot of work that has to be done until we're finished. We have so much further to go before our journey is over, and we can finally say, as you've already heard, until it's done. So, what do we need to do to finish this journey? And when you walk in the CF Foundation's new Bethesda office, you see these words on the wall, until it's done. So what do we mean by that? And what do we need to do before we are done? Let me walk you through that because I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. The first thing we have to do is we need to make sure that everyone, all people with cystic fibrosis, have access to these transformative therapies that treat the basic defect. How are we doing with this? Well, I think we're doing pretty well. You're going to hear shortly from Dr. Mike Boyle, and he's going to tell you that last year was the most successful year ever in the history of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And that included a lot of things, but also our progress in moving CFTR modulators forward. And he'll walk you through that. And based on the successes that he'll talk about, what you're going to hear is that 2 years from now, 93% of people with CF will have access to highly effective CFTR modulators that treat the basic defect in cystic fibrosis. Those are highly effective modulators. Today, roughly 65% or slightly less have access to these therapies, but only 15% or even maybe less than 15% are what we would categorize, what we would claim are on highly effective therapies. So moving from 15% or less to 93% of people being on highly effective therapies is pretty phenomenal. The reason is if these therapies are started early enough, we know that the median survival of people with CF will not be in the 40s as it is today, not even the 50s or 60s, but in their 70s and 80s, and they will have lived long, full, healthy, productive lives. So that's great. That's just absolutely amazing. But obviously there's a problem. And the problem is that we cannot leave Paul and Debbie, Motenko and Stacy and everyone else who stood up behind. And we're aware of this haves and have-nots. And so we're so committed that we get to 100%. One thing we're certain of is we will not stop until we get to 100%. We will not leave anyone behind. And I will tell you that we're going overtime on this now, and Dr. Bill Skatch is leading this effort to make sure that we reach 100%. And if you ask me, I'm going to tell you I think we're going to be successful. So when all people with CF have these remarkable therapies that are going to change their lives, will we then be done? No, we won't be done then, even with that important milestone behind us. And why is that? Well, my colleagues, Dr. Skatch, Dr. Boyle, Dr. Marshall, has done a pretty neat thing. They have taken the patient registry and used it to model what the CF community is going to look like 10, 20 years from now, with all these people rolling into these highly effective therapies. And you know, when you look out 10 years from now, 50% of people with CF are still going to need therapies that address the complications of cystic fibrosis. And if you roll out 20 years, that number goes down, but it only goes down to 30%. So they're going to need better antibiotics that treat the bad bugs that people with CF can acquire. They're going to need anti-inflammatory agents. They're going to need better mucolytic agents. They're going to need better gastrointestinal and nutritional agents in order to live long, full, productive lives. And shortly, Dr. Skatch is going to kind of walk us through that, but just to be honest with you, he doesn't have enough time to go over everything that we're doing. So let me just tell you that we are so focused on this also now that we're spending as much money on this area of treating the complications of CF and committing as much focus and energy on this area as we are the area of CFTR modulators. You need to know that the best is yet to come. There's a lot of promise in this space, and you should expect to hear more things in the future. But look, even when we get 100% of people on CFTR modulators and all the therapies that address the complications that people with CF are going to need 10 and 20 years from now, we're still not done. And the reason is that there are people with CF who already have established fairly severe disease. And one day, they're likely going to face the decision on whether or not they want to undergo a lung transplant or not. We want to help them with that decision. And more importantly, we want to basically, if they decide to go forward with the lung transplant, we want to help them with that journey. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to improve the outcomes so that their survival after lung transplant is years longer than it would be without us. So if you're interested in this space, you're going to absolutely love what Dr. Al Farrow has to say, who's come to the CF Foundation in the last couple of years, ran both the CF program and the transplant program at WashU in St. Louis, and is leading our effort to change CF, lung transplant, and transplant for all people regardless of their disease. We will not leave them behind either. Now, before I get to the last thing that we have to do, let me just tell you there's some other things that we're focused on that we think is very important. And the first one is that, we don't think we'll only have the Vertex program for CFTR modulators, but we think that we'll have 3 or 4 or maybe even more programs before it's all said and done. Wouldn't it be great if we could just tell people what's the best modulator program for you? And you know what? We're doing that now. We're setting up a program to enable people to know. But it doesn't stop there. Dr. Marshall and his team are basically going through a process to help us understand on these CFTR modulators, what's the least burdensome, but still the most effective regimen that they can be on? What can they stop? And so we want to enable them to know that, and it's not going to stop there. It also comes, he's building a program where people with CF are at the center of their care. They're going to be the deciders on what happens to them. They are in the command and control seat for their care going forward. And this is what CF care is going to look like in the future. But it's still going to be critical for people to take their medicines, and that's why Cindy George is leading this program, Partnerships for Sustaining Daily Care. It's a hard thing for me to say, but basically what it means is that we're going to put together a program working with the care centers and people with CF to make it easy for them to manage their medical regimen. Why are we doing that? We're doing that because we know that their outcomes are better when they can have success in managing the regimen. But not only that, think about the day when we're really successful and an individual has started on CFTR modulators at 2 weeks of age or earlier, and they don't have any manifestations of CF disease. No lung disease, they don't even have pancreatic disease, hopefully. And all they have to do for the rest of their life is take a pill a day. We want to make sure that they take that pill a day for the rest of their lives as long as they need it, because we don't want them to develop full-blown cystic fibrosis manifestations because for whatever reason they decided to stop. Information is empowering. Amy DeMaria and really a remarkable communications team is making sure that people with CF have the information that they need, the time that they need it at a point that they trust. And we have really changed the way we're doing that, and I'm very proud of that, but they didn't stop there. They also have made this a two-way street so that people with CF are hearing from others on the community blog. And if you haven't seen that, check it out. The community blog enables people with CF to talk about how they manage their disease, how they manage the difficulties of taking their medicines, problems with depression, anxiety, getting a job, having a family. And that's a really neat place. I advise you to check it out. But it's not too dissimilar from that. It's the Community Partnerships Program led by Dr. Drusy Borowitz and another remarkable team, where they're bringing the voice of people with CF into all that the CF Foundation does. It's basically pointing the way for us so that we know what's important for us to tackle. And not only are they basically giving us this important guidance based on the voice of people with CF, but they're also enabling and empowering people with CF to reach out to others with CF with programs such as BreatheCon, which is this virtual conference where people get together and learn from each other and can share their burdens, and really it's a life-changing experience for many. And also they're setting up peer-to-peer mentoring programs, so someone who's getting ready to go through an event in their life can pair up with someone else who's successfully done that. And what a neat way for that to happen. So we're excited about that. We also need to know that people are going to have access to all of this, the medicines, the care centers, and that's why the work that Mary Dwight and her team, which if you were at March on the Hill, give yourselves a hand if you are on March on the Hill. I think by every report that I've heard, it was a phenomenal experience for everybody. You're making a difference. Your voice is being heard. People are listening. They're retelling the CF story in the halls of Congress to media. Not only did they hear it yesterday, but we'll continue to hear those voices throughout the year. The community of CF is boxing above its weight to make sure that the policy providers are making sure that people with CF have what they need to live long, full, healthy, productive lives. So we're going to keep our eye on all of those things, but there's one more thing that we have to do, and I think you know what that is. Our mission is to cure cystic fibrosis, and our dream is to do just that. And you have to ask yourself, wait a minute, is that possible? Is that too big of a dream to have? Can we even dream of curing cystic fibrosis? And the answer is yes, we think it is possible. And we think it's possible by merging the most amazing story in medicine today, cystic fibrosis, with the most exciting science today, gene editing. And gene editing, for those of you that aren't aware of what gene editing does, is basically molecular or very small tools, if I can get away with that, Bill, very small tools that allow us to repair the defective or changed gene in the cells of the body to normalize that so that that cell, that person, no longer has cystic fibrosis. Now, these molecular tools are available. This NIH is committing hundreds of millions of dollars to this. We're joining with them. We're committing millions of dollars ourselves. And it turns out that the molecular tools, aren't going to be as hard of a problem as the delivery of these tools to the relevant cells. So we're starting now on that program because we realize it's going to take a while for us to even possibly be successful with this, and we want to be successful. Because success with gene editing will allow one day someone to say, as you've heard earlier today, I used to have cystic fibrosis. And when that happens, then we will be done.